Hey, good evening and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. I'm your host, Sandy Shelleth, and we have a pretty good show tonight. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome. Welcome, my friends. So, tonight, well, the term enemy from within. Whoop. Enemy from within, right? Where did we hear that? Who are the enemy from within? I I don't think the enemy from within are us. Mm-mm, I really don't. So I well, I want to talk about it, and I have been studying this for a while. Looking at all of the misinformation and disinformation and quite frankly bull crap that goes that's all over the internet, uh, trying to counter it, but I don't know if that's really going to ever work. It's just like a losing battle. But I'm going to show you some people tonight, introduce you to some people. We're going to watch some videos, and we also, of course, now have the fun half, right? And let me just say thank you to Kim for moderating, Gene and Looney Tunes. Thank you for being here so much. Uh, it's great. And I want to just give a shout out to my friend Michelle. I don't know if she's watching, but she made me this beautiful jewelry set for my birthday, and it's actually the first time I'm wearing it. Isn't it pretty? So we have a blue theme for tonight. So Michelle, if you're watching or you do watch, thank you. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people. The first ones, they have this channel called Redacted. And it's not Lee Camp's Redacted tonight. It's called Redacted. And these people, they're very interesting. The dude used to be a Fox host, all right? And they've got a story, and they're not exactly the most moral of people. They're kind of awful, and well, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So let me pull them up, and we'll start looking at these people. Take a look at who they are. As always, I've got videos, but let's see who they are. And well, first thing I wanted to show you was when I looked at Wikipedia, and I did the thing that says, okay, American conspiracy theorists, because I did not go and look at the rest of the world. I live here right now. It's just, it's all I can look at, right? Look at all of the people, the names. A lot. There are a lot, David Duke. I didn't even put all of the pictures up. It was time consuming, but there's a lot of people that they call conspiracy theorists. Now, I know there's those of you in the audience that say, well, conspiracies, very often are proven true many years later, and I understand that, but for all intents and purposes, I'm talking about people that are grifters, that use their platforms to confuse people, to bamboozle people, and this is one of them. They are a show. It's Clayton Morris and Natalie Morris, and actually they used to be, well, she was actually on MSNBC, and he was Fox. He was Fox News. But these people, every stinking one, every single video, everything they do is some kind of bullshit. They're just so, you expect it from them. Everything they do. So tonight I'm going down to their hurricane coverage, but if you can see, they just, here they're talking about the allegations of Tim Walz, which is, it's election time. This bullshit's going to happen. And even somebody that I know said to me, oh, so you only believe it when it's your side, and I'm like, there's no side. It's bullshit. It's election season. And they wanted to counter me with, oh, well, it's, Donald Trump. I'm like, well, I have to tell you a story about Donald Trump. Donald Trump and I are from the same area. I worked in an industry. I've seen things that nobody knows I've seen. I worked in strip joints. I was a bartender. It put me through college. Uh, I got married. I was a mom, but I kept my job before I had my professional job. And I was a bartender. And let me tell you something. The people that traveled through were not the most savory of people. We had the Russian mob, and they trafficked women. And at the time, I didn't realize exactly what was going on. But the dancers that came in, they had their guys sitting in the bar watching, and these girls were trafficked. And let me tell you, they all had connections to Epstein, Donald Trump, all of it. All right. So nobody's going to argue with me and say that Donald Trump isn't who he is, and that Governor Waltz is diddling little boys. I seriously doubt it because it came out so close to the election and it's not an October surprise. So, there's a lot of things that I know and I've been through in my life, and it's no conspiracy. So, uh, every story they do is okay. What happened to Malaysia Airlines, and they're gonna Russia and the BRICS nations are set to unveil gold-backed currency, and is the October surprise? What is it? Is it inflation and core prices with hurricanes and war in the mix? Um, this is what we're going to talk about first. We're going to talk about this Eric Heckler, former Raytheon supposedly employee, but he was really just a firefighter, or even maybe he was a plumber in Antarctica with a project that was down there. I don't want to do that into the mic. I'm trying to make sure I don't overmodulate. I got some help from somebody who said that I should stay a little farther away and maybe lower the volume and fix my audio a little bit, and I hope it's helping tonight. So anyway, here we go. I'm gonna show you this guy, Clayton Morris. Clayton Morris, he's now a YouTuber because that's his grift. They see where their bread is buttered. Very gullible people that watch them, and he's probably making his money on advertisements. I basically can't monetize any of my videos. Every time I try to monetize one, they tell me that the content is not suitable for advertising. But these people can lie and grift and talk about all Dane Wigington, all the bull crap, and they can monetize. And I think it's kind of funny. So he was on Fox and Friends, and he left in 2017. He was a real estate guy. And, well, I'm not going to read you the whole thing about him, but quite frankly, he's not a very nice guy, So he had to find a grift because he moved. He had to move. Well, he had to move. They chose to move. Former Fox and Friends host Clayton Morris moves to Portugal amid legal battle over fraud accusations because he was a real estate guy. And even though he had a lot of legal stuff, a lot of lawsuits and all, he didn't get indicted. His partner did. But they left. They left the United States and they went to Portugal. And last night, my family and I moved abroad, she wrote. I am not one of those who rejects America. We had a good life there, but my husband and I had a few hard years in our business, and this has forced us to question everything. Yeah, because you don't want to go to jail. I have no idea what extradition is like in Portugal. He has not been convicted of anything. So, but they had a real estate business that went awry, and they of course they denied. They denied responsibility for their investor losses, and they did blame this guy, and he went to jail, Burt Whalen, or he got convicted. But anyway, so they moved. They are in Portugal. trying to get away from themselves, trying to get away, and they're probably, in a place where they can do a better grift. It's probably it is a beautiful country, but they left. So what I'm going to do is I have the first video of the night I put together, and I think you guys will like it. Let me make sure it's pulled up. All right, you just hang on and we will get the video going. Hang on, hang on, hang on.
So yesterday I had a chance to sit down with Eric Hecker. He worked at the South Pole Station in Antarctica.
Eric Hecker is a loser, okay? And he's another one.
And he's one of only a handful of people. He used to actually work for Raytheon. And then he saw what they were doing at the South Pole Station. And you won't believe what he discovered. We're seeing the weather manipulation. We've covered this extensively here on the show. The NextRad radar systems that have been used to direct and move these storms in a path of destruction. The control of these storms is unbelievable. And I think most Americans were kind of silent, didn't realize that this was actually happening. I think the cat is out of the bag on all of this now. But I'm curious what the South Pole Station is, and when you work there, how it actually is able to be used as an earthquake generating machine, what else it's doing there, and maybe how this is tied to the current weather events and all of the things that we're seeing right now across the United States.
Ever since they were envisioned, neutrinos have evoked a sense of wonder.
Because
an almost
nice
undetectable
research.
Particle with hardly any mass that travels at close to the speed of light has taught us more about the universe than we ever could have expected.
Also goes down deep into the ice, giving it a third dimension, length,
Former
width, and
firefighter.
height. So it has exponential,
Not a scientist.
more, I guess you would say, capabilities, targeting
Then the HARP
discharge of
machines
power. Then, yeah, it's like HARP on steroids, basically. So, yes, it generated the earthquakes that occurred in Christchurch, New Zealand in February of 2011.
Astrophysical neutrinos exist, and we can now see them with IceCube.
After 2013, we were seeing a few high-energy neutrinos from the cosmos per month. However, these alone would not be enough to answer the next big question: where do they come from?
We got our first answer in 2017 when IceCube detected a neutrino from the direction of the constellation Orion. We sent an alert with the coordinates to telescopes all over the world. And together, we traced the path back to a black hole 4 billion light years away.
The success motivates grander dreams, such as building a 10 times larger detector to continue the exploration of the uncharted universe.
And we are back to construction. The first upgrade of the IceCube detector will produce a more precise machine for neutrino physics, will bring back past and future events into sharper focus, and will set us up perfectly for a larger next generation IceCube detector.
We, the people, are suffering under this monopoly of technology by our oppressors. It's literally just that simple. And that would be the motive for them to have agents, for lack of a better term, flooding the disclosure community with BS to muddy the waters and confuse us, we the people, so that we can continue to be wholly oppressed and well managed.
IceCube neutrino machine in action. So it goes deep and it's and much larger than HARP. And I guess just walk us through what they would be using this for.
Not only built the first high-energy neutrino telescope, we
It's a
also
telescope.
built a very versatile neutrino
They want to
detector.
make everything
Out there
so nefarious.
is that you have to understand it's just very easy now to deliver that energy anywhere on the planet. It's not challenging.
Like they can pick a spot. They can They can pick a spot in Iran, and they can just dial it in on the computer, and launch an earthquake.
Hey! Last time, officially going in the hole.
What's the kick plate?
Scientists are so excited.
Good luck, Moa. And with you.
So scary.
Moa's with you too. Just do your best.
That's what you find.
False when you find what?
Oh, this is breaking. No, I don't know.
All right, everybody.
So nefarious.
And what's actually happening there in these directed energy weapons. And he's saying what's happening there is criminal. And so I think what's most...
So he doesn't know what he's talking about, honest to God. Guy is really, this guy, he's really dumb. So let's look at what the ICE project is. All right, we're going to look at what the ICE project is. It's a nice project. I like it. And first we're going to blow them out of the water with a fact check. And I do have to tell you, I've got to be careful because these people like to sue, I found out. So here's the fact check. Antarctic research facilities, it doesn't produce energy weapons. And this was back in February. An Antarctic research facility completed in 2010 has been used by U.S. and international scientists to study subatomic particles from space. And, but claims on social media that it used directed energy weapons and caused a major 2011 earthquakes. So they're saying they were saying that this telescope and this science research in Antarctica was causing earthquakes all over the world. They say the facility, known as IceCube, has a network of optical sensors designed to detect neutrinos for basic science. And a defense expert said it lacks the capacity to produce energy capable of penetrating the Earth. The IceCube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device. It's the world's largest directed energy system. A man designed as Eric Heckler. Eric Heckler, what an idiot. Okay, this is Eric Heckler to me. I played the wrong one. He's this. Scary. Eric Heckler is scary. It's the world's largest directed energy weapon. So it's responsible for earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011. It was a podcast on the Sean Ryan Show shared on YouTube in July of 2023. Heckler made similar claims in a video shared on TikTok in August 2023. The claim was amplified by popular podcast host, who else? Joe Rogan, who called it a wacky conspiracy theory and added, I have no idea if any of this is nonsense. So this guy's, he's nuts. All right, I saw other videos. But the facility does not emit energy, and it cannot produce anything capable of triggering an earthquake, according to scientists affiliated with the center and an international expert. IceCube doesn't emit anything. It records particles coming from space for astronomical studies. It is a conventional particle detector made out of a cubic kilometer of natural ice, said Francis Housen, the lead scientist for the IceCube project. And he's a physics professor at the University of Wisconsin, which coordinates the research of around 300 scientists from 14 countries in a February 20th email. Ignacio Taboada, a Georgia Tech astrophysicist and spokesperson for the IceCube, told AFP in February 20 that the facility is part of basic science and without an immediate practical application, and aims to get a better understanding of neutrinos, including those created by black holes. So Taboda said any impact outside the facility is just not possible, and noted that the sensors are contained in a facility drilled 2.5 kilometers deep in the Antarctic ice using hot water. In terms of disturbing the ice, this is truly minimal, he said. So the sensors produce very faint lights that help in the study of neutrinos, Taboda said. He said Raytheon had been a previous contractor at the facility, but he had no knowledge of Eric Heckler or any role he played. AFP contacted Raytheon, but no response was forthcoming. So AFP and other news organizations have written about the IceCube research since the opening in 2010. So it just tells you about, neutrinos and what they are. They pass straight through the universe. The IceCube is the world's largest neutrino observatory. They're detectable when they collide directly with protons or neutrons. Collision creates a muon or a muon, which radiates blue light as it travels along the same path. But you know what I'm thinking? They read a lot into the science, and they will say, oh my gosh, well, look at this. It is down in the ground and it's in Antarctica. So it must absolutely make earthquakes. And this is a while ago. So this year they were even saying more. This guy was the video I showed you was even worse. So you see, it's the detector. It's so large because it's trying to detect very small particles at low levels of energy. It's not designed to handle the large amounts of energy needed for the effects that are being claimed. That's all I'm going to say about it. So they're full of it, okay? They are full of it. They are debunked. This is the project. Here's the overview. And it's the first detector of its kind. It's not a huge observatory, and there's a lot of scientists, 350 physicists from 58 institutions in 14 countries make up for this collaboration. And the NSF provided, the National Science Foundation in the United States provided the primary funding for the IceCube Neutrino Observatory, with assistance from partner funding agencies around the world. So it's really just a science project that, again, like they all do, they just all do, they have to constantly blow all these things up. So I moved on to the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they are saying that pretty much conspiracy propagandist groups aim to delegitimize government institutions or government officials by stoking fears concerning door-to-door gun confiscations, martial law, supposed takeover of the U.S. by the New World Order, and anxieties around the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and so many more. Okay? It's like an anti-government movement. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing. Southern Law Poverty Center has reported on some of the more egregious assertions or assertions that conspiracy theorists make. And, a lot of times I don't even like to use the word conspiracy theorist, but I don't know what other word to use, since this is what's all in the material. So since President Donald Trump left office, QAnon has persisted. There's another one, Only the best people, right? The big lie, COVID, the China virus, we're going to have a Marxist takeover, the secret network of child traffickers. I mean, just one after the other, right? All right, so I'm going to now move on to another video. And this time we get to watch our favorite friend, Dane Wigington. And he's not my favorite friend. I have been going after him for years because I think he is a number one. I can't prove it, but somebody had argued with me and said, oh, Dane funds so much of his own stuff and Dane's been doing this, but he's been doing it for years. And he uses the same old, I said this in another show, the same old tired bullshit stories over and over and over again. Okay? Over and over and over again. So here we go.
Milton, there's no question it's being manipulated, and there's a global network of frequency transmitters that have a repelling effect on the air mass.
Same
that
shit.
Is heavily seeded with electric conductive elements. And if you saw the track of Milton, it got hung up a bit on the Yucatan Peninsula. There's a massive transmitter in Cancun, and we recorded the transmissions from that, trying to bump that storm back onto track. And again, once it gets near enough to landfall in the U.S., where the NextRad network then becomes the controlling element, we've recorded this again and again and again. Even with hurricanes like Harvey, for example, Clayton, you might remember 7 days in advance, they seemed to know where it was going to go and that it was going to sit there for days. How could they possibly know that unless that's the plan? And we recorded Harvey. We recorded the actual transmissions with Harvey, Ian, Maria, Michael, all these hurricanes and their interaction with the transmitters. This is patented technology. So again, it's not like we're speculating.
Patented 100 years ago.
I think it's fair to say are purposefully lying about what they personally think is actually happening. I think there's some of both. And we're going to see this further amplify in an environment where there will actually probably be more visible conversations about geoengineering in the years to come as the consequences of climate change become more profound. So we are, as humans, as a society, profoundly influencing the weather, but not in the way that a lot of folks think. We're doing so indirectly by warming the entire climate and shifting the balance of energy throughout the different fluxes and flows that already exist in the Earth system between the ocean and the atmosphere and the cryosphere and back and forth.
There you have it.
So we are actually collectively profoundly influencing the weather. There are early attribution studies that suggest that the precipitation that fell, the catastrophic flooding that occurred in the southern Appalachians associated with Hurricane Helene a few weeks ago, was anywhere from about 20 to 50% more intense due to the global warming that's already occurred. You can't control the weather, but that we're profoundly influencing the weather. So which is it? You can't have it both ways. And in fact, we can have it both ways because that is actually how the physical world works. We can't wield direct control over individual weather systems for the reasons I mentioned, because there's a massive imbalance of the energy involved and our ability to wield energy in any non-massively explosively destructive way.
Oh, yeah. I really like Daniel Swain, Dr. Daniel. He's great. He's terrific. But I've got something to show you. It's a little upsetting because we're going to read it. You have to be really careful. These people are crazy and they will go after you. I even thought about it, am I defaming Dane Wigington because I don't like him? I'm such a small channel. But researchers hit with lawsuits for fact-checking climate change. For gosh sakes, they're getting lawsuits for fact-checking climate change. A loose coalition of conspiracy theorists, libertarians, and conservative groups have gone after those who have provided fact checks used to counter misleading claims circulating on sites such as Facebook and TikTok. Social media savvy climate scientists have something else to worry about besides fallout from rising global temperatures. A loose coalition of conspiracy theorists, libertarians, and conservative groups, some with fossil fuels ties, have gone after those who have provided fact checks used to counter misleading claims circulating on the sites. Facebook, TikTok. I would say there's so many more since 2022 when then this was written. The climate researchers, who often volunteer their time, have faced lawsuits designed to drain resources and dissuade their work, as well as requests seeking voluminous records from the public institutions that employ them, a tool often used by journalists and others to investigate public agencies. The researchers say the public records that are divulged as a result of the requests are sometimes then used to challenge or smear their work and are ultimately intended to muzzle them. They make a point of going after the fact checkers because, in addition to stopping regulation, they also want to prevent or discourage climate scientists from doing things that might educate the public. Imagine that, said Laura Kurtz, executive director at the Climate Science Legal Defense Fund. You have to have a climate science legal defense fund, huh? Kurtz's organization provides legal assistance to the researchers. She said in 2022 had been the busiest year yet. Doug McMartin is just one of the fund's recipients. Last fall, while he juggled washing the dishes and entertaining his newborn son at home, complete with the flecks of vomit on his shirt, a stranger rang the doorbell and served him with a lawsuit. The plaintiff, Dane Wigington, runs a website called Geoengineering Watch, which is dedicated to exposing global climate engineering or using technologies to alter weather systems. Wigington made a conspiracy theory-filled documentary called The Dimming on the same topic. It was awful. It was really awful. I watched it. It was all of the same shit over and over, and it's fast, and they try. You don't even have a chance to really critically think watching it because it's so awful. It's really awful. So he claimed, McMartin, okay, this guy made a documentary. He described Danes as pure fantasy on the fact-checking website Climate Feedback, which TikTok and Facebook employ to assess the accuracy of science-related posts. So Wigington claims that McMartin's comments caused Facebook to limit the visibility of his documentary, curbing its reach and the amount of revenue it generated. So he sought $75,000 in damage, not from Facebook or Climate Feedback, from McMartin himself, the guy that made the documentary. I mostly felt disbelief, McMartin recalls, a bit of shock combined with, I just don't have time for this. Researchers, they've been hit with lawsuits and freedom of information requests from their public employers seeking these records, and which are used sometimes out of context to undermine their work. Such efforts to target fact checkers with lawsuits and public records requests waste time and money, sometimes out of their own pockets, the researcher said. The campaigns also intimidate volunteers into keeping quiet, they said. They make a point of going after fact checkers because in addition to stopping regulation, they want to prevent... Oh, God, did I just read this over again? All right. In a little more than a decade, her group has helped 240 researchers fend off lawsuits and other types of challenges from opponents, including dozens involved in fighting what they believe are requests for records that are meant for intimidation, according to Kurtz. The fund normally helps about 40 scientists a year. This was in 2022, so they had already assisted 35 public records requests, and the data that they sometimes unearth are common tools used by journalists and others to investigate public agencies. They've been a key tool for both sides on the climate change issue, used to hold utility companies accountable, but also by climate skeptics to extract information that could discredit a climate scientist. Daniel Swain, who we just saw in the video I made, a climate scientist at University of California, Los Angeles. His show is called Weather West on YouTube. University of California, Los Angeles, who often speaks publicly about wildfires and droughts in the Western United States, recalled his own frustrating experience dealing with a public record request. A group called energy policy advocates sent a records request to UCLA seeking emails, text messages, and private encrypted messages related to a fact check by Swain and others of a Wall Street Journal review of the book Unsettled, what climate science tells us, what it doesn't, and why it matters, by Stephen Koonin, a former Undersecretary for Science in the U.S. Department of Energy under Barack Obama. Swain attempted to challenge the request, with a university lawyer complaining of the presumptive intent of disrupting primary research and outreach activities by inundating climate scientists with requests. A representative for the Records Department, while sympathetic, responded to the requesters' motivations, that the requesters' motivations were irrelevant and that they were bound by law to provide the information. I spend nights and weekends compiling and going through thousands and thousands of emails because these requests are extremely broad. He said, in some cases, they're essentially open-ended. They're asking about multiple years, multiple words, and multiple platforms. Swain, who receives regular death threats and hate mail, said he's secure enough in his job that he plans to continue speaking out what he believes are bogus climate claims. Thank you, Dr. Swain. But he said not everyone has that luxury. I think some folks view this as, well, why would I voluntarily make this harder for myself? So I'm not going to go through that. I wanted to just read to you because it's quite long. I wanted to read to you about Dr. Swain and that he's been through this and others have been through it. And so it made me think, I wonder how careful I have to be. I want to show people what is happening. But I'm a tiny channel. Nobody gives a shit. I'm under the radar. All right. So I want to move on a little bit to the psychological aspect, but I want to make sure I do not have another video I wanted to show before this. All right, let's talk about this. And it is the American Psychological Association. And now, mind you, I don't necessarily fault people that fall into these rabbit holes. They're all over the place. People can be prone to believe in conspiracy theories due to a combination of personality traits and motivations, including relying strongly on their intuition, feeling a sense of antagonism and superiority towards others, and perceiving threats in their environment. So there's a lot of reasons why. They're not all likely to be simple-minded, mentally unwell folks. That's a portrait which is routinely painted in popular culture. Instead, many turn to conspiracy theories to fulfill deprived motivational needs and make sense of despair and impairment. So it was good research, and they did analyze it. They did a lot to get to where they are at the end of this, and they said basically they found that people with certain personality traits. I'm really batting 1,000 today. Certain personality traits, such as a sense of antagonism towards others and high levels of paranoia, which in this society are just being exacerbated to the max, were more prone to believe conspiracy theories. Those who strongly believed in conspiracy theories were also more likely to be insecure, paranoid, emotionally volatile, impulsive, suspicious, withdrawn, manipulative, egocentric, and eccentric. So, again, this is psychology, American Psychological Association, and people fall into these rabbit holes for certain reasons. And I wanted to go over a couple of them that I remember. And let's see. Okay, here's one. They want you to eat bugs. Do you remember this one? The ruling class want to enslave the masses and make them eat insects. To combat climate change, experts recommend eating less meat and more plants. In some circles, this advice for a warming planet has transformed into something more sinister. The ruling class wants everyone else to eat bugs. It's a claim made by conservative media personalities like Michael Knowles, that bastion of intellectualism, and Tucker Carlson, and often used to mock anyone who suggests the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. According to NPR, the conspiracy theory percolated through the message board 4chan starting in 2019. Do you guys remember this one? Some social media posters talk about the theory with a sardonic flair. The phrase, "I will not eat bugs," is a common refrain, while others have attempted to tie it in with wider anti-Semitic beliefs about a global cabal, which is actually trying to control the masses, which I have noticed has had a hideous resurgence on Twitter because I ended up in a rat hole, it was a rat hole, a rabbit hole that I was shocked to be in, actually. The darker version of these conspiratorial beliefs is called the Great Reset, and you know that I did my Agenda 21 show, which holds the global elite plan to enslave the masses in a kind of survivalist dystopia where freedom is a thing of the past, and the only thing to eat is insects. Yeah, that one. And of course, the old chemtrail. But let's go to, remember Satanic Panic? All right, this was a good one. This was in the 80s and 90s. America became convinced that an underground network of Satanists was working together to kidnap, torture, and abuse children. None of it was real, but the conspiracy theories destroyed lives. The pinnacle was Geraldo Rivera's infamous NBC special Devil Worship, exposing Satan's underground, which aired in 1988. He relied on self-proclaimed Satanism experts, misleading and inaccurate statistics, crimes with only tenuous links to Satanism, and sensationalized media reports. It was the most viewed documentary in television history, at least to this, when this was written. There's over 1 million Satanists in this country, Rivera said, adding that the odds are they are in your town. Oh boy. So the panic, it grew. And of memories, there was idea of memories of abuse were often repressed and could be recovered with the help of hypnosis and therapists. This idea was popularized in a 1980 book, Michelle Remembers, co-written by a Canadian psychiatrist and the patient he eventually married, which was an ethics red flag, in which the eponymous Michelle recovers memories of supposed ritual satanic abuse conducted by her mother. And this is the kind of crap that kept happening. Daycare owners were eventually acquitted, but it was the McMartin preschool. Do you remember that in 1983 in California? A California parent accused the daycare owner of sexually abusing her son. And it was like, it just became a humongous thing where everything was happening all at once, and it actually didn't happen. After 7 years, the daycare owners were eventually acquitted or had the charges dismissed, but their lives were ruined. One was jailed for 5 years while awaiting trials and retrials. In the meantime, similar accusations spread through daycares around the country. Most were spurred on by the now discredited methods of questioning small children, methods that often led to children making sensational accusations because they wanted to please the authority figures questioning them. Unreal. So those are the two I'm going to go into actually right now, because there was another article that I wanted to find. I don't know where I had it. All right, hang on. It could have been this piece, misinformation and disinformation, but there was a lot on the American Psychological Association website. How it spreads, interventions, factors that make people believe, 8 specific ways to combat. Good website. Really good website. So right now, we're going to watch one more of these people. And hang on. This one is pretty hilarious, I think.
I hear about climate change scientists and, and NOAA or whatever, or the
another
scientists and blah, blah,
intellectual.
blah. It feels like a kindergartner trying to explain what's going on with the weather without having enough data or understanding of the billions of years.
Right.
And no disrespect to scientists. This is what humans do. We try to understand to the best of our abilities
No
and make guesses.
disrespect.
But there was a point where we thought that the Earth was the center of the universe. And then we kind of figured out later on when we started looking at stuff like, mathematically it doesn't quite make sense. I think there's a strong possibility when you look at everything. I'd say it's a 100% probability. We are wrong about all science. But to be fair, 99.9. What we get right is what we can replicate. We can make video games. We can drive cars. So science does get us to these points where we can predict and make these systems. But to predict global weather, I don't know that humans have been around enough, tracking enough data to really understand what's happening.
But my question is where's all of this ice where's all the water gonna come from to raise the ocean?
I couldn't help myself. Oh my God. That was pretty funny. Tim Pool is not exactly your bastion of intellectualism, is he? No. So where are we? I've shown you some things. I've solidified my, again, assertion that these people are dangerous. They distract, they divert people from thinking about the things that are really important in life, not that the Antarctic station for neutrino telescope discovery is making earthquakes. And HARP, of course, he mentioned HARP. They mentioned them all because it's the same thing over and over and over. Over and over and over. So I actually have something else. Let me see. Hang on. Let's move over. I have, more information. So we're going to move over a little bit to this kind of disinformation. J.D. Vance shows that the future of the GOP is in racist conspiracy theories. So it just really does flow the gamut. Trump's deluded fantasies have now become the GOP gospel. All right. He is Donald Trump's heir, but he's an awkward one. Trump has spent decades shamelessly hustling, so deception comes naturally to him. But we're going to move down. We're going to talk about J.D. Vance. He's a liar with a bad conscience because he can't bullshit. Vance always knows he's spreading falsehoods, and he has to develop post facto rationalizations for them, which doesn't mean that Vance isn't given to lying profusely. The way the two men handle conspiracy theories it illustrates the distinction. Conspiracy theories have long been central to Trump's political vision. He rose to prominence for his unabashed embrace of birtherism. Remember that one? The lie that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States. Throughout his rise, Trump and those closest to him have embraced a host of sinister movement portrayals, delusions, buying into Pizzagate, and the QAnon movement's portrayal of Trump's political foes. I didn't even know what these things were back in 2016. When people that I had followed or had Facebook groups that were seemingly normal politically, all of a sudden took this step into Pizzagate, I was just incredulous. I said goodbye. I didn't even know what it was about, but I knew it was a bunch of bullshit. And then that's when QAnon came along. The movement's portrayal of Trump's political foes as pedophiles and deep state Kabbalists, and the big lie of election denial in 2020, the motivating force behind the January 6th attempted coup, was a distillation of Trump's conspiracism, a master narrative of Trump as a brave rebel leading a mass movement against a corrupt elite. Conspiracism is Trump's instinctive mode, fitting in with his formative years as a resentful, outer borough real estate developer who felt that Manhattan old money looked down on him. Vance, by contrast, has risen from a working class background by studiously imitating the elite, fueled by emulation and admiration rather than resentment. Until his recent conversion to Trumpism, Vance, in fact, aspired not to overthrow the establishment, but to join it, which meant going along with the elite consensus against conspiracies about the American ruling order. He is a tech bro venture capitalist, guys. That's who is going to take over when Trump is not president if he wins. And this is an oligarchy, and it will be worse than it is now. It will be fascist. For gosh sakes, he says they talk about women not crossing the lines without having pregnancy tests. And somebody else said to me, well, that would definitely be a tourism bummer, you know. But he not long ago described the conspiracy theories as feverish imaginings produced by fringe lunatics writing about all manner of idiocy. But that was before he became a rising star in Republican politics. The Ohio senator and GOP's vice presidential nominee I don't know what's with me tonight. I can't speak well. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have dementia. I'm just been doing a lot. So he in recent years declared that the federal government deliberately allowed fentanyl into the United States to kill conservative and rural voters. He has praised Alex Jones, and he's echoed, contrary to all the evidence, former President Donald Trump's assertion that the 2020 election was unfairly won by Democrats and that those charged in subsequent Capitol insurrection are political prisoners. And we saw in the debate, he could not say it, that the election was fair. He couldn't say it. So he's gone from someone being an intellectual to a conspiracy theorist. But the description, it really obscures the truth. He's still an intellectual, but now uses his considerable mental energy to defend conspiracism and use it as a glue to bind together the MAGA coalition. Writing an alternate, Lindsay Beyerstein notes that Vance's function is to reassure the more buttoned-down Republicans that it's possible to collaborate with outlandish fantasists such as Alex Jones and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a congressperson, mind I remind you. She writes that Vance uses conspiracy theorists to unite integralist Catholics, Protestant New Apostolic Reformation types, and the more secular Silicon Valley contingent exemplified by Elon Musk. He's great, huh? So let me go through. Believing crazy things is not the mark of whether somebody should be rejected. Believing important truths should be the mark of whether we accept someone. And if they believe some crazy things on the side, that's fine. We need to be okay with non-conventional people. I won't say I don't agree with that because I know a lot of non-conventional people. I know some people who believe everything that comes down the pike. Everything. But I still care for them. Anyway. I'm going. His arguments are sophistry. He's just, there's just so much here. So if you want to read it, I've got everything in the show notes. Podcaster Matthew Sitman, co-host of the Know Your Enemy, recently noted, Vance is one of the highest profile conspiracy theorists in the U.S. He should not be Trump eating one too many Big Macs from the presidency. Unfortunately, Vance also proves that embracing conspiracism is a good political move for a Republican. Even if Trump loses in November, Vance's version of cynical conspiracism is here to stay. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then AP had a secret history. Even before the revolution, America was a nation of conspiracy theorists. And I don't have to read this one to tell you that it was, think about the Salem witch trials and what happened there, the Red Scare, the John Birch Society. You could compare them to QAnon. It's just American as apple pie, Apple pie. But what happens when no one believes anything anymore? You know? What happens? Yeah, that's one to think about. Then my last one, before we go to the fun part. The 7 conspiracy theories mucking up the elections. And this was in February. So I want to look and see if in this one, because again, it's just, it's just so much. Okay, 1. The Great Replacement Theory. The racist conspiracy that says there's a plot to diminish political power and culture of white people through the deliberate immigration of non-white people in this country, which is really disgusting, in my opinion. And ideas from the Great Replacement Theory also filled a racist document posted online by the white 18-year-old man accused of targeting black people in a rampage in Buffalo, my home, and killing 10 people, which was absolutely one of the most horrible things to go through. Really bad. And similarly, the prominent conspiracy theory has researched that Jewish people promoting hatred against whites and bringing hordes of minorities into Western nations. Elon Musk endorsed this. And by the way, in the other article, there was the other article I had, if I can find it now. Hang on. Oh, I don't know if I can find. Oh, 21. It was the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is actually because of Netanyahu's disgusting war in Gaza and how much it's upset everybody. The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion is a hoaxed anti-Semitic book that purported to reveal a Jewish conspiracy to achieve world domination, and I have seen it all over Twitter. It's sad. It first appeared in Russia in 1905 and described how Christians' morality, finances, and health would be targeted by a small group of powerful Jews. I even had a friend, because now everybody uses the term Zionist. And I knew somebody and they said their comment on something was, well, don't all the Zionists own the media? And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? So this thing was, it was discredited as a hoax and a forgery. It's still in print and it's happening. It's all over. Not to mention all the other things for every other, let me tell you something. Donald Trump comes back and Muslims better be careful. Remember his Muslim ban, right? Yeah. So we'll go 1 in 3 Republicans in a recent poll said they believe Taylor Swift's romance with Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce was fabricated by the government as part of a secret psychological operations plot. YouGov polling in December showed that 42% of Republicans believe many top Democrats are caught up in child sex trafficking rings, when we know that every single or most of them are priests and pastors. You can do a search and see hundreds of priests and pastors that have been arrested, tried, and convicted for diddling kids. It's not hyperbole. It's disgusting. And you remember the Catholic Church? What happened in Boston? Yeah. There's a whole cottage industry about Hunter Biden. Oh, his laptop that didn't even exist. And their theory that Biden ordered the deep state federal prosecutors to go easy on his son. But when Hunter was charged in a 9-count indictment, the theory morphed into something about the Democratic Party planning to use the indictment as an excuse to dump Biden. Sebastian Gorka, that's another one, who served as deputy assistant to the Trump administration, which I can't believe that, wrote on X, the only logical explanation for the earth-shattering news about Hunter Biden is that they decided it's time to jettison Joe. And there's just too many. There's just too many. Last but not least, polls generally show 6 in 10 Republicans continue to believe the 2020 election was stolen. Yep. And that Tina Peters, that woman just went to prison for election interference in Arizona because she gave records. She ran the election district where she lived, and she gave all this shit to Mike the Pillow Guy so that they could prove that the election was stolen. And Tina, to the last minute, to the judge, was trying her own case, and the judge had none of it. It was a pretty good watch on YouTube about entitled, semi, well-off, white, narcissistic, self-centered bitches. Yeah, it was pretty good. All right, so now we are going to segue over. We're going to segue over to a video. Hang on. I have something for you, and I think that you will remember this. So segue to the fun part.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
We all remember where we were when that happened. But what if I told you that something far greater was at play in this very moment? A saga of government corruption so entrenched in our society that to expose it would make Watergate a mere footnote in the pages of history.
For the last few years, my team and I have been investigating the biggest crime ever perpetrated on the American people.
Since the Eisenhower administration, the US government has been committing genocide on the entire bird population and replacing these birds with sophisticated robot replicas, equipped with 5-megapixel cameras and a sophisticated tracking system that can follow your every movement. I know this is horrifying, but please remember, stay calm. It is estimated that by 2001, 90% of the birds that we see in the sky will actually be surveillance robots.
Well, it's a
we
little
must
old.
act now to prevent this from going any further. Join us, and together we can make 1987 the year that we take back our freedom.
Do you remember that one? The birds are not real. So let's take a look. This was the website. This is their website. What's the movement's purpose? The Birds Aren't Real movement exists to spread awareness that the U.S. government genocided over 12 billion birds from 1959 to 2001 and replace these birds with surveillance drone replicas, which still watch us every day. Once a preventative cause, our initial goal was to stop the forced extinction of real birds. Ultimately, this was unsuccessful, and the government has since replaced every living bird with robotic replicas. Now our movement's prerogative is to make everyone aware of this fact. And what do you mean birds aren't real? Well, the terms birds aren't real, it refers to biological birds no longer existing on United States soil. Nope. After the government forcibly made the entire species extinct in the 20th century, all the real birds were replaced with surveillance drones designed to look just like birds. To simplify, birds no longer exist in the U.S. as a biological life form. Thus, birds aren't real. They're not real. And what are eggs then? The eggs we see in the 21st century are specifically designed by the government to appear indistinguishable from what eggs once were. When birds were real, when the government replaced the species with robotic replicas, it was key that those replicas sustained the same activities that their biological predecessors did. Yup, it was the key. They sustained the same activities, and so it produced edible eggs. So what's bird poop? Bird poop was originally thought to be oil discharged from earlier bird drone models. After further research, though, this was disproven. Bird poop irregularly falls on vehicles in large amounts. Recent studies show that 87% of bird poop in populated areas fall on people's cars. Now, why is this? confidential documents leaked in 2018 revealing that bird poop is actually a form of liquidated tracking apparatus. If you walk outside and you notice some bird poop just happened to fall on your car, be aware you are now being tracked by the United States government. It is recommended that you clean your car exterior regularly to avoid this. So how do you explain bird meat? Well, all meat is found in birds today is 100% synthetic. If birds suddenly become inedible, the government's entire scheme would have been compromised. In order for their transition from real bird to drone replica to make sense, they had to imitate all parts of real birds in their robot copies. This includes tasty, edible meat, just synthetic. Synthetic meat is actually very accessible in modern times, with many fast food operations openly using it in their meals. The government simply has access to these modern technologies. They had it decades before, And what about the birds that people hunt and or roadkill? I mean, how do you explain that? Well, that's based off a flawed understanding of what a robot is, right? With major technological advances only recently being made in the 20th century, many think a robot can only be a metallic machine with gears and wires. Bird drones are not this. The government has access to futuristic technologies, making it possible to create a robot using parts indistinguishable from a biological organism. After all, if the robot replicas didn't look and feel exactly like real birds inside and out, well, the entire plot, it would be exposed. So where did all the birds go? Wouldn't people have seen them? It's common knowledge. The government killed the 12 billion birds before 2001 by releasing a virus that only affected bird species. And the bioweapon was sprayed down by B-52 bombers. The virus spread throughout all the birds like wildfire. And are they all robots? Yes. And what about my pet bird? Not to startle you, but you have a highly advanced governmental surveillance drone in your house. So it's a serious movement. It is absolutely serious. Okay? Totally serious. What do you think? All right. We're going to look at, I have one more video I want you to see, which actually is pretty cute. And, we're gonna we're gonna go there, and then we're gonna talk about the dudes behind this. Here we go.
Fakes do not work as well in dark light. So as you can see, these pixels here, proof we got them.
3 days ago, Vice Media Group released a hit job documentary about our movement and myself. Any footage of me in this documentary is a deep fake. They use deep fake technology to simulate me talking with these people. Today I'm sitting down with the world's foremost expert in deep fake technology, Dr. Marlon King, who's going to prove to the world that this is a deep fake once and for all.
The Illuminati will be destroyed. Will be destroyed.
Destroyed!
Marlon has been the forensics expert for our movement for a while now. If we need proof for anything, we go to him. He's a genius.
I've had police dogs chasing me through the woods. I've been chased out of houses. I've been chased out of towns. They try to accuse me of criminal activity.
The government's been trying to take out Marlon basically his entire life, so he's the perfect person to have on our team during this whole situation.
Vice, I know you're with the Illuminati. I've been on your trail for a long time.
He called me the second after he saw the Vice documentary. He told me he could prove it's a deep fake and fix everything, so I got over here as fast as I could. I have full faith in him.
Their games is over now. Friendly, my genius rat telepathically shows me how to identify deep fakes.
Marlon has a rat named Friendly who gives him most of his information, but it's not like a normal rat. It's totally different. Actually makes a lot of sense. Marlon worked at the CIA,
before he joined Birds Aren't Real. And before they fired him, he rescued an old MK Ultra lab rat from one of the research facilities.
I took this rat home with me after they fired me. This rat is highly intelligent. It has intelligence beyond that of an average computer.
When I got here, Marlon explained that the CIA implanted a second brain into the rat while it was at the laboratory. He said the brain got infused with gallons of LSD and contains an unbelievable amount of knowledge.
It has been filled with so much information that Google doesn't even have all the information held in this extra brain right here, if you can see what I'm talking about. I'm trying to give Friendly a decent life, a decent home.
Marlon's not just a deepfake expert, he's a tech genius. He developed a technology where he can communicate with the rat's second brain.
I can communicate with Friendly with special technology I developed here. I can transmit Friendly's brain waves into a frequency pattern that I've developed a special code that I can decipher and communicate with this rat.
Marlon told me that Friendly predicted the Vice deepfake 2 years ago. He said that Friendly spent the past 2 years telling him everything there is to know about deepfake technology. When I asked him to prove that Vice made a deepfake of me, though, and use all of his deepfake knowledge, he said that we had just spent a long day with Friendly. Said he was kind of tired of explaining stuff, and he just wanted to hang out. And honestly, I've been needing somebody to hang out with. This week's been really rough for me, and I like Marlon, so we hung out. He showed me around his house, and he did end up giving me some answers about the deepfakes, but said that he didn't need to elaborate when I asked.
Now, for those who don't know what deepfakes are, can you explain to the audience what a deepfake is?
It's computer sorcery. What it does is manipulate the true face and
silly
to incriminate.
He got a little into what he called dark pixel proof on some different softwares that he pulled up.
As you can see, the pixels have been altered to make it a deep fake replica.
But he kept getting off track, and the conversation kept switching to stuff I didn't really feel like I could change the subject about.
I'm pretty positive they murdered my wife.
Why did they do that to your wife?
So I kind of just left it alone. When I asked him for more specific evidence about the deepfake, he said if I needed more evidence, then I didn't trust him. And it goes without saying, I do trust him more than anyone about this stuff. And I saw the dark pixels too. I saw them with my own eyes.
You see him?
But even if I didn't, Marlon's my friend. And you should trust your friends.
If any one of you thinks that is me in that Vice video, I implore you, look at the video in dark light. There's pixels on my face. You can see they patched my face on.
These demons put a hit job on him. Along with the help of Friendly and the technology that I have, and my colleague, Mr. Peter Mikado, we are going to prove his innocence.
This could hit any one of you too. I'm here today with Dr. Marlon to prove my innocence and to prove that there's a greater scheme happening here trying to drown out our movement. We can't take this lying down or they'll censor our movement like they did the movement of 1987. No.
Next thing you know, we'll have a big lump hanging out of our neck and all an extra brain that they created for us. You know, I don't need that. Believe me, man, I've been through so much stuff a lot of people don't even know. I died twice.
You died twice?
I died the moment I was born, and then I died when I was 14 also.
What happened when you were 14?
He died twice.
It was gas fumes. You know, just undetectable gas fumes. Walked away, a friend of mine come to check on me, and seen I wasn't breathing and got a paramedic and got me breathing back just in time. And what I saw then.
Okay. All right. We are going to... All right. We're going to go back and give a little explanation of birds. I don't know if all of you didn't know about it, but it was a Gen Z conspiracy theory turned social commentary. I can't play this because it's a TED Talk, but Peter McIndoe is the guy, and he started a farcical conspiracy theory called Birds Aren't Real, gaining a following of Gen Z adherents. He reflects on what the fake movement reveals about belief and belonging. He had 500,000 people following him. He lived in a deeply conservative religious community in rural Arkansas. And now he works to explore the us versus them mentality implicit in conspiracy theories. And his work actually has been featured everywhere, from The Guardian to 60 Minutes. And he's working on a book due out in 2024. So I can't play this, but that's who he is. Birds are real. I remember it. I thought it was kind of wild. And have you ever asked yourself, why are birds able to stand on power lines, but if you touch them, you'll be electrocuted? Birds have been charging on power lines for decades, and their charging stations are hidden in plain sight. Those drones could easily be placed underground, but the government has chosen to build them where the drones have easy access. I thought it was funny. Is this where they hide the bodies? Ah! Look at the bird. And there was a lot of comments. This may be the coolest photo ever. It would be a killer photo album if it were. So, I mean, there's been a cottage industry around it, but pretty funny. This is their YouTube. Birds Aren't Real. And, you want to go and have some fun. Everything's in the show notes. And they've got, they don't make a lot of new stuff. I don't think they do. 2 years ago, but they're still around and living his life. So that was the fun half. I thought that I would bring up the end of the show with something funny that is humorous, and actually people believed it. They really did believe it. And he talks about it in his TED Talk. So you'll have to do that. All right. Well, let's get some questions out. Who knows if I hope I can monetize this one. I wonder if it's too controversial to monetize. They won't let me. I mean, it's really crazy. I should be able to do what other YouTubers do. But that's probably not going to happen. So do we have any? Yes, honey, it was parody. And if you go to the show notes, you'll see you can watch his TED Talk. I can't play it because I get a copyright. All right, I'm looking for any cues. Did you have any? No, it looks like you guys are pretty quiet tonight. Let's see. The guys have drunk the sauce. No, they made the sauce. All right. Well, I guess we're doing pretty good. I don't have too much. I don't have any cues in front of anything, and let me go back a little bit more. Lightning rod, what you can do is here. Donald, how are you? Tim Tool, take the fucking beanie off. Tim Fool. Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. All right, well, Matt Hunter's here from New Zealand. Hi, and Singing Way and Looney Tunes and Gene. Everybody, Channel Warhorse, how you doing? I hope you liked my little foray into the Lunosphere. How many people are in the U.S. are in the category? You mean of believing things that are fantastical? Well, let me see if I've got the statistics. I can look at the, I don't know if, I'll probably have to look that up and put that in the show notes. The American Psychological Association would have this, and their links are many. So let's see. Why do people believe in it? I I don't know. There's videos. There's so much in the show notes, Gene, that we could probably find it. I did not. I don't have it. I don't have it. I'm looking to see if there's any kind of statistics. I do believe it has gone up. We live in very, very paranoid times. Social media, it makes it very easy. And then there's people like those people at the Redacted channel that just feed, and they have 200,000 plus subscribers, you know, to my 4,280. And we are not conspiracy theorists. You know, people could say, oh, near-term human extinction is a conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy. It's a theory. But, you know, climate, it's not a conspiracy. It's happening. We have the scientific data. These are things that, you know, we're on the ground. We've all got our feet on the ground. We've got our heads in the right place. And when you do find yourself finding a rabbit hole that feels a little bit too comfortable, pull yourself out. Check yourself. If you don't, well, you could be in that statistical part of Americans, you know? All right, well, it has been an hour and 20 minutes. I want to thank you. Hi, Morbius. It's great to see you. Hello, Going South. It's great to see you. By the way, it's 8 years that Environmental Coffee House has been on Facebook. Today's the anniversary. So I could give us a little applause. Yes, it is. Yes, yes, yes. And then what is last but not least? What do we got to flush? Even though my beginning was a flush. I'm going to ask you guys. All right, guys, what should we flush? The birds? I mean, there's any number of things we could flush. We could flush. You know what? I'm going to flush Tim Pool. I can't stand that beanie wearing ignoramus. All right? Tim Pool, you're going down. All right, there we go. Peace out, guys. Thank you for being here with me. You guys are wonderful. It's been fun. I always enjoy doing the research for these shows. Yeah, climate disaster is real. Just might not agree how long. That's right, because we don't know how long. I will never say it. Nope, I'll never say it. No. Oh, no, you don't need to know. He's a right-wing grifting podcaster. He's just another one making a whole bunch of bank on gullible, angry, incel-type young men, I would say. I don't think too many women watch him. I don't know. Yeah, just 1 billion or so climate refugees will make things happen predictably, according to Roger Hallam. Oh, yeah. Poor Roger. It breaks my heart. He breaks my heart. I really liked... Hey, Luann. I really liked... she's my personal friend. In real life. In the flesh. It's great to see you here. All right, guys. I think it's time for me to bid you adieu on a Friday night. And I'm glad you came. But as you see, the enemy within, it ain't us. We are not the enemy within. They are. The people that are trying to purposely confuse Americans. And the whole world laughs at the United States. It does. I hate to say it. It just does. Love you guys. Yes, I'll put this up. They can cause real harm. FEMA workers getting attacked. Sandy Hook parents being accused of being paid actors. Goddamn right, Thomas. Thank you for saying it. It's true. All right, here we go. We're gonna dance it out. All right. Bye, guys.